As of the recording of this video, I've lived in Japan for 6 years, 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 days, and 4 hours. What would possess someone to not only give up a comfortable life in the Australian suburbs for the absolute insanity that is the world's most populated city, Tokyo, Japan, but to stay for as long as I have? In this video, I'll answer that question with 5 things that I love about living here. Starting with number 1, eating out. Compared to where I grew up and most countries I visited, eating out in Japan is affordable and endlessly entertaining. It's been well documented that Japan has some of the best food in the world, playing host to sushi, ramen, rice bowls, fried meat, and so much more. If you want sushi, just head to a kaiten sushi or a sushi go round. You can help yourself to as many plates as you like for about $1.50 each. Walk down the street and hit up the local ramen joint. You can get a big bowl of noodles for around $8. A good friend of mine in Australia who pines for Japan told me he recently shelled out a whopping $20 for a bowl of ramen over there. But by far the real MVP of eating out in Japan is the humble family restaurant. You can sit in a spacious surrounding with your friends, choose from Japanese food, Chinese food, Italian food, and so much more. The infinity stones of family restaurants are Caesarea, Gusto, Jonathan's, Denny's, and Royal Host. The 5 of these combine to create deliciousness and satisfaction. This is Caesarea, where we got a few dishes and unlimited refills from the drink bar for only $12 per person. And this is Gusto, the slightly fancier option. If you come to Japan, you have to try some of these bad boys. Lame Avengers metaphors aside, most foreigners who make Japan their home gravitate more to these restaurants than others, so they are simply not to be missed. And if eating out isn't your thing, there's always the option to eat at home. On your way home, stop by a convenience store like 7-Eleven, Family Mart, or Lawson, and just grab a bento or a ready-to-eat meal. Whether a ricey one, a noodly one, or a spaghetti-y one, they'll only set you back a few bucks. But the real MVP of the bento scene is the humble supermarket, especially My Basket. For only $4, I got this bowl of curry, and if you drop by in the evening, you'll find it discounted by about 40%. Bentos are perfect to grab on the way home after a long day of being a salaryman or teacher, and I pretty much lived off these at my last job where I wasn't getting home until after 10 o'clock at night. Number 2, a million things to do. Japan has 47 prefectures, from the northernmost Hokkaido to the southernmost Okinawa. It's a goal of my own, as well as many other foreigners in Japan, to visit every single one of them. I've been fortunate enough to visit 19 of them in my 6 years here. Every single prefecture has its own unique charm and character. From the picturesque lakes of Shiga, the stunning castle towns of Hyogo, and the geothermal wonderland Oita. While it's harder getting to these smaller, more out-of-the-way prefectures, even the major centers themselves have unlimited things to do. It would be nigh impossible for me to explore every single neighborhood of Tokyo, but that's part of the fun. There's something surprising around every corner and a billion hidden gems to uncover. Recently, when walking around a park, I stumbled across a recreated feudal-era village. I had no idea that was there, and it's one of the many surprises I've documented on this channel. The sheer density of Tokyo is simply superb. To entertain myself, it's a simple matter of getting on a train to check out a pop-up store in Shinjuku, a beach down in Kanagawa, or a mountain in West Tokyo. There is no limit to what you can do here in Tokyo, and that limitlessness is part of the charm. Once upon a time, I lived in Kansai, the metropolitan region that encompasses Kyoto, Osaka, and Kobe. The same was applicable there. One of my greatest memories from my first year here is randomly heading to Kyoto on a Sunday arvo, renting a yukata, or traditional garments, and taking photos in a bamboo forest. Later that afternoon, I went to a summer festival where I could watch the parade and try all of the local street food. Touristy as hell it may be, but the point still stands. When you find yourself in Japan, you'll be endlessly entertained by what's around you. In fact, you might find yourself overwhelmed. There's a million places I'm yet to visit, and Japan truly feels like an open world video game, where you have to explore to the edges of the map and check things off on the way. OpenWorld Japan. That sounds like a great name for a YouTube channel. Anyway, number 3, kind and considerate people. A lot of people might tell you that Japanese people are shy, cold, or have difficulty communicating in English. In many cases this is true, but what you're seeing is the face of one of, if not the kindest, most polite, and most hospitable cultures on Earth. In my experience, I'm fortunate enough to have lived in both Australia and Japan, but I have also lived in China, giving me a third point of comparison. I'm not here to dunk on China or complain about my own country, or say that Japan has the best culture in the world, as you'll find people all over the planet who are kind and considerate. But considering the people I've met here in this society that I've lived in for the past 6 years, as well as the most important factor here, my status as an introvert, allow me to explain why living in this culture suits me. First of all, people stay out of your business in Japan. In Australia, I couldn't take the bus to school without someone wanting to start a conversation with me. And in China, I couldn't even walk down to the shops without someone wanting to start a conversation with me, ask me personal questions, or even take pictures with me. While it was flattering to be seen as the object of people's fascination, and my time in China was the closest I've ever felt to being a rock star, after the novelty wore off after 2 weeks, every day became an exhausting nightmare, without a moment's privacy after long days of studying throughout the rest of the semester I was there. Compare this to life in Japan, where I can take public transportation quietly, be left alone, and go for a walk without anyone wanting to talk to me. As an introvert, this is total paradise. Granted, I realize this isn't for everyone. A lot of long-term foreigners I know here lament this lack of easy social connection you might find in Australia, and certain people I've met have felt disappointed when they come to Japan and aren't given the rockstar treatment. Such people with this expectation also come here because they think they'll be popular women and they can't get a girlfriend back home. But we're not here to talk about them. Anyway, being left alone is just a godsend to me. Especially after a long day of being an English communication teacher, I just want my me time. Other ways you see consideration here is the speedy return of lost items. In my first couple of months in Japan, I was walking around the beautiful Hikone Castle in Shiga Prefecture with a new friend. At these tourist sites with your ticket, you'll often be given a lovely brochure, but not wanting to read it, I hastily stuffed it into the back pocket of my pants. While my dumbass was touring the top floor of the castle, it fell out without me noticing. Back outside, I felt a tap on my shoulder and an old lady had run down 5 flights of stairs just to give it back to me. 5 flights of stairs, just to return a brochure. Incredible stuff. In a more extreme case, in my neighborhood, my wallet had fallen out of my pocket without me noticing. An hour later, when I realized it was missing, in a panic I ran to the koban or police box to report it. I'll never forget the bewildered expression of the cop as I walked in, and he said, "It's you!" Someone had already turned in my wallet and he recognized me from my ID. All my cards and cash were still inside. I don't know how many other places in the world you'd be able to get your wallet back so quickly, with $200 still inside it. And finally, I'll never forget when I participated in a full marathon race and the insane number of people who showed up to yell encouragement and support at runners. Not only did they cheer, but they offered snacks, drinks, and cooling spray to participating runners. I remember supporters noticing my family name on my running number and yelling out personalized cheers at me. It's this combination of being left alone, never losing my stuff, and general kindness that suits me. This is probably the most personal topic of the 5 points in this video, and I realize this might not suit everyone. But I think all you guys can see how it's still a positive aspect of this culture. The way people are leads me nicely into my next point, which is that you can find your community. In a city as densely populated as Tokyo, you are certain to find your people, those with similar interests and values. Let's call them your community. If not in one of the 2 major metropolitan regions of Japan, you'll certainly find them online. Let me share my example. I am an adult fan of Nintendo. For a long time, I was ashamed of that. Growing up in a society that values sport and violent video games, I was teased by my classmates for enjoying so-called kiddie games. Here in Japan, any obsession you have is never treated with disrespect. Only interest by those who share it, or disinterest by those that don't. This disinterest ties into what I was saying about being left alone. Nobody is going to make fun of you for whatever niche hobby you have. Otaku culture is well known here, with meccas like Akihabara in Tokyo or Denden Town in Osaka, and those places focus on game, anime, and idol obsessions. When I was in Akihabara recently, I could pose with a giant statue of Link from The Legend of Zelda. At the time, it was fun exchanging pleasantries with other Zelda fans doing the same thing. Where I grew up, such a weeby thing would not be on display in public, nor would I feel comfortable enough to pose with it in front of the masses. At my first English teaching job back in Kobe, I sheepishly shared my love of Nintendo with some adult students around my age. To my surprise, We all had it in common. We ended up getting a few students and teachers from 2 different schools together, and we organized the Super Smash Bros. Event in a game cafe in Kobe on Saturday nights. When most of us moved to Tokyo, we continued the tradition here. One of the guys even invited me to be his guest at a Legend of Zelda orchestra concert. You have no idea how liberating it was to share my niche interest with other people, find more people that have it in common, and randomly chat with like-minded people who made the pilgrimage to a game display in public. Now I'm sharing my love of Nintendo games on my other channel, and I've networked with other foreign Nintendo fans here in Japan. And this is just my example of finding my people. As another, my partner became interested in drag culture. He networked with some other people online and started attending drag events, and now he regularly performs in Nichome, Tokyo's gayborhood. He's a big part of the queer community, as are a lot of my friends here. Are these things that we could do in Australia? Probably. But I think it's the sheer number of people who live in this country, the greater acceptability of niche hobbies, as well as the eclectic mix of locals and foreign aspects who make Japan their home. I also wanted to include this point as a lot of foreigners who live in Japan complain about not being able to make friends with locals. While a lot of this is because of the language and culture barriers, I have proven that it's certainly not impossible. You can find your people, they are here. My Japanese isn't the best, so you'll have to find people who have an interest in foreign cultures and who have some English communication ability. But using your hobbies and interests as a jumping off point for a potential friendship is the best thing that you can do. With a bit of effort, you will get there and you will be friends for life. And finally, number 5. Insane levels of convenience. We all know that Japan is the most convenient country in the world, with its 24-hour corner shops and its punctual public transportation network. But there are ways in which Japan's convenience culture continues to surprise me, so let me give you some examples. First of all, online shopping and delivery. Most items are sent from online retailers with express shipping as the default option. So after ordering something, it will generally arrive on the next day, or even the same day. Because Japan is so safe, I can have the delivery man leave it on my doorstep and not have to worry about it disappearing. For an item that requires a signature, I simply scan the QR code on the redelivery slip, and with a few taps on my phone, I can schedule it to arrive when I'm home. When I lived in Australia, if you missed a delivery, you'd have to drive down to the post office to get it yourself. And if I ordered something in China, there was more than one occasion where the item just never showed up at all. While goods here are often overpackaged, and that is a debate for another day, every single product you buy here is designed for easy opening. This is my favorite snack, arufoto, a kind of chocolate cookie. Look how easy it is to open. You simply just tear it here, pull it out, and see this? It even says open. Just like that. Slide it out, and there are my chocolate cookies. No mess and presented nicely on this tray. And how do you think you open a packet of chips? Like this? No, that's just gonna explode in your face and make a mess. The Japanese way is like this. Find the place where you tear it, hold it sideways, and open it like that. No mess at all and easy to reach in. And let's keep the convenient food train rolling. Food delivery apps boomed during the pandemic, and they are yet another miracle from the gods of convenience. With just the press of a few buttons on my iPhone, I can have McDonald's delivered in 10 minutes. The quality and safety of food delivery is very high, as I never have to worry about getting the wrong order, nor do I have to worry about food tampering. I've not been back to Australia since before the pandemic and since before food delivery apps were a thing, so please let me know the state of food delivery in your country. And finally, the god of all stores, Daiso, Japan's dollar store or 100-yen shop. While there's an assortment of cheap items here, a lot of them are designed to solve problems you didn't even know you had. Look at these hooks, which come in suction, magnet, sticky, and nail varieties. And look at this, 1 million types of glue for every imaginable situation. And look at these, shoe keepers. They keep your shoes in shape when you're not wearing them. I never would have thought that was a problem in my life. Japan truly is the king of convenience, and perhaps this over-reliance on convenience has made me soft and lazy. But I wouldn't have it any other way. So, with these 5 points, I have proven that Japan is truly a utopia that can do no wrong. Hold it! You and I both know that's not true. Utopia is a concept, not a reality. And while Japan might come close, for every positive, there is a negative. That's why in my next video, I'll dive into those 5 things with 5 things I hate about living in Japan. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. You'll see me rant for the first time, and it could possibly be the video that gets me cancelled. As for this video, I'm genuinely curious how what I talked about compares to life in your country. So please let me know what you thought down in the comments below, and I'll reply to you. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'm off to eat the rest of these chips. I will see you next time.